This is something we have not talked about during our back to school month, and it's going to be another issue we're going to focus on during our season 7 premiere when we deal with season 7. The issue here is randomized drug testing. That goes along with all the Supreme Court cases that we're also going to talk about tonight. So we focus on issues we have not focused on during this back to school month on the GMB YouTube channel, which we've all focused in on the original channel. That was the whole purpose of the repeat. That was the whole purpose of what the repeats on the GMB YouTube channel, so y'all won't get confused here. So you think about this. You want to participate in athletics or any extracurriculars like choir or the band, whatever. You sign a paper saying you have to be randomly drug tested. Is it a good idea when... So the question here is it a good idea to be randomizing students to take drug tests, urine in a cup? Take a look.
This is sure to stir up some emotions.
Yeah. I mean, I can see random drug testing for certain groups like pilots and maybe law enforcement, but junior high students.
Yeah.
I mean, this is big. This is a big change.
If it's becoming a much bigger deal, which according to the study it is, then how else do you nip it in the bud?
You know how you do it? You don't let the school board do this in school. The school board buys the test, gives it to the parents who have enrolled a child. You want your child in my classes this month? You do the test. Why? Because if the school does it, they're going to write the name down somewhere. And there's a 6-year-old or 6th grader or 7th grader who's going to have a record for the rest of his life somewhere. Unnecessary. Make the parent do it.
Our parents going to do it.
Huh?
Our parents going to do it.
But we've talked on the show about, I don't know that it's a good idea as a parent if you're resorting to sending your 7th grader into the bathroom to pee into a cup. That does not, in my opinion, develop a strong relationship between child and parent.
If a kid doesn't want to try drugs, but all his friends are doing it, and he's feeling a lot of pressure, he can use this as an excuse that's kind of not within himself. It's like, hey, it's not me, but I'm going to get tested. I'm going to get tested, so I'm not going to do it.
It is.
I think it needs to be, and I think you're right, the parents need to be involved with the testing, but I think it really needs to be done because by testing them, they'll be able to get them help if they need it. The kids that are taking the drugs, they are going to lie, and these are kids you would look at, and they may be getting A's until their senior year and they drop off. You don't know, and then the parent doesn't know, and the school doesn't know. Is this something they just tried, or is this a habit that they're addicted to? By finding out, by testing them, they'll be able to get them help if they need it.
I think we would all agree that keeping middle schoolers off of drugs
That's the goal.
Is the goal, and just how do you get there is the big controversy.
And it's a big controversy with our common sense alert. I'm going to give you a portion of what I think, and I'm going to give you a portion of the rest at the end of the broadcast. And I'm also going to tell you the same thing when we do our season 7, when we do season 7 premiere week. Basically, let me tell you the story. Let me tell you a little story here. I participated in one extracurricular. That is the FCCLA in Flower Bluff. I didn't go on any of the trips. I didn't go to any of the meetings. I just basically didn't go. I mean, what was I going to do? Filter Washington, D.C., unexcused absences, whatever. I decided to participate in all the meetings, some of the meetings, but after the $60, I signed a paper saying that I had to be randomly drug tested. It just basically means the same thing. Pull down your pants, pee in a cup. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And then all of a sudden you get the pee, and then the results, and if it comes back that you did not do the drugs, you're clear to still participate. However, if you smoke dope during your time, urine picks it up, and that drug test comes up saying you took meth, you smoked some dope, you took Xanax, whatever, they're going to tell you, well, since you took all these drugs, we can't allow you to participate in this and that. I mean, it's a thing that parents gotta get involved in. I mean, 7th graders, for crying out loud, saying a 7th grade in to go pee in a cup when they're not in extracurricular activities, for crying out loud. If that happened, Me as a parent, I want to march in there and ask, what the hell's going on? Why would you do that? But it's a good reason for it, because think about this. You can't be on the field high. You can be hurt. Chess club, same thing. Band, choir, it's the same thing. You cannot be operating school stuff, school property, while under the influence of drugs. If they find out you've been smoking dope and then you've been using someone else's urine, they're going to know. And when they find out you've been using someone else's urine, you may be arrested or going to jail here. The common sense about this, a portion of this is just basically talk to the board and ask, hey, what's the big deal here? I mean, getting parents involved is like, I may not be doing drugs, but I will be, but I can and will be, but I can and will be tested if I never do the drugs. That's the whole key here. Okay, one school is deciding to do randomized drug tests of all students who don't participate in extracurricular activities. We're going to hear from the parents, and we're also going to hear more. We're going to hear what the school board says during their board meeting when we return. Please stay with us. If you're just joining us, we are talking about randomized drug testing, an issue we've not talked about during our back to school month. We're also going to focus in on our season 7 premiere when we premiere after Labor Day. Now, what we focused on so far is drug testing 7th graders, 7 through 12. That's the pre-K. That's the 7th grade to the 12th grade. So 7th grade to senior year. That's like 5. That's like 5 grades. But the parents have to be notified. I mean, if you randomly drug test your kids without parents being notified, I mean, parents have to be involved. I mean, if you don't ask the parents, they're going to be concerned, like, what's going on? It's like they come home, little Johnny comes home and tells, he's like, Johnny, what happened? They may be peeing a cup. What? Why wasn't I notified? They didn't notify parents. And so they march down the board saying, hey, my son was randomly drug tested and we didn't get notification. What's the big deal? It's like, well, we kept this a secret from y'all because we didn't want y'all to be concerned about this. Well, no, I'm concerned. I mean, if my nephew or niece came to me saying they made us be drug testing because we didn't participate in extracurricular activities, I would be a concerned parent march down the board saying, what the hell is wrong with you? Why would you do that? You know that's wrong. Damn well know that's wrong. Now Beeville is doing the same thing that one previous school district may be doing. We'll focus on the other school district in just a minute. But first, here's Devon Taylor.
Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Drug scares has emerged as a major challenge for educational institutions nationwide, and Beeville is no exception. School administrators have become increasingly alarmed by the prevalence of drugs among students, prompting them to explore proactive measures.
Here at Beeville ISD, we've worked really hard as a committee to develop some random drug testing procedures. We've noticed a really high increase in the use of vapes across Texas, really, and here in our district as well. And so we really wanted to implement something in order to create a safe and free environment.
In recent months, schools across the country have faced the fear of students getting access to drugs like fentanyl. The Beeville Independent School District is hoping their plan will save lives.
And so students, when they come to school and they realize that we're really cracking down on our policies and procedures regarding drug testing, then they'll take it more seriously and really see the impact that it has on their future and student success.
Alongside education and awareness programs, the school district is considering random drug testing for students 7th through 12th grade as a potential deterrent, hoping it will discourage students from indulging in these harmful behaviors.
Parents and students will have to attend orientation meetings to look over the procedures. It is mandatory, they will not be able to participate in any extracurricular activity until they attend orientation.
The policy is expected to take place at the beginning of the school year. In Beeville, Devon Taylor, Chris 6 News.
And basically, it's the same thing like the other schools. I mean, we heard from the doctors, And like I said before, with some common sense, it's basic common sense. We have to talk to parents. We have to talk to students. We have to give out surveys and see, okay, fill out a survey. Don't just go ahead and poke the bear. I mean, that's what schools are doing. They're poking a bear, pissing off corporate parents who just simply don't care. That's what schools do. Poke the bear and piss parents off, saying, why wasn't I notified about this? If schools don't notify parents, this is what happens. When you keep poking the bear, the parent gets pissed. The bear gets pissed. He starts attacking. That's the same thing with the parents. The parents attack. They sue the school district. They hire attorneys, and the school fights back with their own lawyers, saying, well, this is just something we're trying to implement because of vape. And now we get to the bottom of this. That's because of vape. But for 7th graders, there's got to be something wrong here. Hang on just 1 second. Because like I said before, we're going to be talking about this during our season premiere, during premiere week, our season 7, which is going to be after Labor Day, because this is really an issue. "21 years old. 21. That's the same age to get alcohol. But an under 21 ID. I mean, kids nowadays are getting under 21 IDs. That's where the purpose comes in. I mean, you show them an under 21 ID like this, and it's like, this may be fishy. Okay, here you go. Then they start vaping in school. So, is it a great idea to start? So the question here is this: is it a good idea to be drug testing 7th through 12th graders when they're using vape? The answer is yes. But I know there's going to be a lot of comments on this channel, and there's also going to be previous comments on the previous channel, which I'm going to do during the season premiere, is going to be saying, well, shouldn't you be on the school side and on our side? I don't want my child does not smoke vape. I mean, congratulations. That's great. Your child's not smoking vape. I'm not being sarcastic. This is the real deal here. I mean, there's also some parents up here that just maybe disagree, may not be concerned about this. And it's a great thing not to be concerned about this, because you may be scared. Your child may be scared as well. Take a look.
Drug testing for 7th to 12th graders.
It's a new policy in a Nebraska school district, and it's raising eyebrows. 3 News reporter Ron Johnson has more. Ron, good morning.
Good morning, Zach and Cerise. It's for students who participate in school-sponsored competitive extracurricular activities in the Creek District. It's also for any high schooler who wants to park in the school's lot. The school board passed it at their meeting in July. The board says it comes after an increase in what they called instances both on and off school property. The community questioned the board on what exactly led to the policy, the transparency behind the approval, and the concerns for safety of student information.
Once these kids do get tested, where is that data going to? Who is going to, I know it's a third party, who's doing the testing? What information are they going to have on my kid? That's my biggest concern.
We believe that this is in the best interest of our students at this time, to provide them a safe, positive learning environment. That's why it was adopted. Again, you may disagree with that.
The policy uses a third party for testing, referred to as Sport Safe Testing Services Incorporated. The urine sample testing will take place twice a month and is a requirement to participate in extracurricular activities. Both the parent and the student need to sign it. The board pointing to the community to frequently asked questions page on the district's website for some answers, but they did acknowledge that some of the questions asked had not been addressed. In the studio this morning, Ron Johnson, 3 News Net.
Okay. All right here. That's the answer right there. If you're going to participate in extracurricular activities, that's the mandatory thing. But come on. We don't need to be drug testing kids who smoke dope outside of school. For crying out loud here. If they smoke off school property, that's no reasoning behind schools getting involved in what's going on outside the school. Schools need to be involved in what's in school, not outside, inside. What happens outside of school is none of the school's business. That, my friends, is why we need to raise our common sense hand. That, my friends, is common sense. Common sense should tell you we shouldn't be getting involved in what's going on outside of school. We need to be involved in what's going on in school. That's the whole purpose. And the community may agree with me, and some of y'all may disagree with me, but for this one, I have to side with the parents. I don't side with this school. I side with Beeville, but I don't side with people's what's going on inside of school. What happens at the home stays at home. What happens outside of school stays outside of school. What there needs to be is laws that say schools should not interfere what goes on outside of school. Keep it in the school. It's like Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's common sense. That's the moral compass here. Like this. You shouldn't reward bad behavior. That's the thing. And that's the key here. That, my friends, is the whole key here. Okay, when we return, we're going to look more into the company about this new drug testing policy. And then we're also going to look into the students' rights. Then also a bit later, I'm going to tell you what I think about randomized drug testing. I told you part of it, but the full story is also going to be talked about on the season premiere as well. So you'll understand where I'm going here. Stay with us. We're turning our look about randomized drug testing in 7th through 12th grade. We just heard from the doctor's opinions about randomly drug testing 7th graders and 6th graders, how it's wrong. We also heard from Beeville's new policy about randomized drug testing all students for vape. Now in Nebraska, there's a new issue being raised about drug testing people who want to join extracurricular activities and do a parking space. Now that we know something about it, I mean, it's like this. Hey, you want to park at ours? You want to park here? You're going to be drug tested. You want to participate in football? Drug test. What's going on here? Well, take a look.
Once these kids do get tested, where is that data going to? Who is going to, I know it's a third party. Who's doing the testing? What information are they going to have on my kid? That's my biggest concern.
It's a good question, and one that parents had at Monday night's school board meeting in Crete. In short, it takes some trust in the third party overseeing the selection and testing Sports Safe out of Ohio. Why do they do it and not the school district?
It's a way of alleviating them from having to manage all of the different things.
The director there says other than providing the list of students, the school has no role in determining who gets randomly chosen.
We layer everything as best as we can to protect the integrity of the testing process by using an outside collector when we can, using coding with what we send to the laboratory. We use a student ID instead of the kid's name.
He says the data they hold is encrypted. They'll work with a contractor to go to campus to oversee collections.
We believe that this is in the best interest of our students at this time to provide them a safe, positive learning environment. That's why it was adopted. Again, you may disagree with that.
And the ACLU of Nebraska does. They said it violates unreasonable search and seizure in the Fourth Amendment.
Schools are increasingly passing student drug testing policies, despite the fact that the government reports and shows that student drug use is actually on the decline.
All right, Aaron, I've got a question about schools in the metro because it makes you wonder about their policies. What can you share on that front?
So I haven't found any public schools in the metro that drug test students. I specifically confirmed that with Omaha, Millard, and Council Bluffs public schools that they don't. But Sports Safe told me they work with other public schools in Nebraska, including Grand Island Northwest, Ord, and Central City.
Okay, Aaron Haggerty, we appreciate your reporting. Thank you.
That's what the company's doing in Nebraska and Ohio. So, common sense. So, common sense alert. That's what's going on here. We don't need to be freaking drug testing 7th graders. We should only be drug testing freshmen through high schoolers, not junior high, high schoolers. I mean, why the hell would you even why the hell would you even fucking drug test a 7th grader? For crying out loud. You should be drug testing 9th graders through 12th graders, freshmen through seniors who want to participate in extracurricular activities. I mean, that's the moral compass here. And I agree for what the Nebraska ACLU said. It said it violates 4th Amendment seizures. If we look at some Supreme Court cases, we may be in agreement here. So, let's take a look at some. So let's look at some Supreme Court cases all about randomized drug testing, because these may be clues into what's going on. So, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that public schools may require student athletics to submit random drug tests as a condition of participating in interscholastic sports. The Supreme Court found that random drug testing of student athletics is not a violation of privacy under the 4th Amendment Constitution. The legal foundation of suspicious student drug testing rests upon the 1995 landmark decision of Vermont v. Acton. In that case, the Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of a school policy requiring students athletics to pass random urine analysis tests as a ground of participation in interscholastic sports. 2002, the Supreme Court ruled in Board of Education v. Earls that it does not violate the 4th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution for public schools to conduct mandatory drug testing on students who are participating in extracurricular activities. So this is what you have. You have Verona versus Acton. You guys showed it something wrong, but this right here is the answer right here. So if you want to look for answers about why it's happening, you need to do your research. Look up Supreme Court cases. That way you'll know. This answer right here is the key. This is the key. So when you look at this, just look at this answer right here. You see this answer? That's the key. And state law challenges. This is from ACLU from back in 2005. So when you're looking at randomly drug testing kids, you really should be looking at the bigger picture here. What's the bigger picture here? By not drug testing 7th graders, only testing 9th through 12th, freshmen through seniors. That's it. That's it. That's the big Swiss cheese here. We don't need freaking need randomizing 7th graders. I mean, we randomize 3rd graders. If schools randomize 3rd graders to do randomized drug testing, they would be sued big time. Lawyers would be like, whoa, hold on there. That's not a good idea here. If we do this, we could be sued. He's like, well, I don't care. If I was part of that company, I'd be pissed. Real good. So parents, you may be on my side about this issue. You may be not. And I'm going to hear a load of comments on this episode saying, well, what side do you want? It depends on the story that we're talking about. I'm on Beeville's side when it comes to the vape. I'm on the parents' side when it comes to being concerned about their child in Nebraska. So in the Nebraska issue, I side with the parents. In the vape case, I side with Beeville. Let's take a look at one more from the doctors, and then we're going to take a break. It's all about randomly drug testing high schoolers. So if you're in high school, you are required to take drug tests for like athletics or whatever. Take a look.
Cracking down on vaping and drug use among students, one Ohio school is planning random drug tests for students. So this is a Catholic high school in Ohio. Here's the deal. Students apparently are supposed to consent to this testing to enroll to do it. A letter sent home to the parents of 620 students explaining this new program. They're going to be tested at least once a year for illicit drugs, nicotine, alcohol. It's almost set up more in a way like maybe professional sports where they're randomly drug tested, alcohol tested, nicotine tested. I'm a little confused by this, Judge Mary. Here's why. The consent, if that's a piece of this, it seems like the kids that are more likely to do illicit drugs, they're not going to consent. So the goody two-shoes are going to consent. Oh yeah, this is great, no problem. So what is the...
You're not coming to my school then. See, this is a private institution. It's a Catholic school. So here are the rules. You know, you sign this or you're not going to come here. It's really simple.
So that they can do that.
Sure. Well, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, here are the rules of our school, and you either accept them or you're not. Now, what about the public institutions? They can't do that.
Okay.
You know, and our federal government, our Supreme Court has only ruled 2 times on this issue. And the issue was and they found that if you're involved in sports, you must test. And if you're involved in any extracurricular activities, you must test as well. And they found that it was constitutional at that point to do it. But for the most part, any type of testing is regulated by state law. And the state can mandate through their constitution or through statutes what they're going to regulate and how they're going to regulate it. So yes, in this particular instance, because it is a private institution, they could test.
Now, my concern with this, they're saying they're going to test students at least 1 time per year, but you can be tested numerous times. And for me, of course, I don't want students to vape. It's dangerous for obvious reasons. But I see a potential here for students to be treated unfairly, meaning there could be one student who's tested once and then another student who's tested numerous times just because. So I
believe the standard should be there should be a reasonable suspicion that you're either under the influence or were actively involved.
But you are a fair person. I could see.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, which is appropriate.
Now I got a new name instead of Sherry.
But don't you agree? Like, if there are some people who would take advantage of this and treat students unfairly.
Oh, absolutely.
And say, well, I did think that they were.
You know what, Nita, you bring up a valid point, but I think as part of it, it should be written in the testing that they have the right if they are suspicious, erratic behavior, something.
And then what are the benefits of this? Are there benefits for having these rules? Is it acting as a deterrent? They used to use the old Scared Straight program where they would let the kids sit down and take them to the police station, and that's not working anymore.
But
These
where's
kids
the
are too
data
smart.
that it reduces substance abuse? I'm asking.
Not yet.
Okay.
What do you think the benefit is of this?
I'm hoping it would act as a deterrent.
And I think it would for some kids.
I can't go to school because then my mom and dad are going to know that I'm smoking pot, whatever else I might be doing. I'm going to think twice. That's the hope.
I just think we need the research to back it up.
If there's any potential to act as a deterrent,
Let's try.
I think
But you also have to protect the privacy rights of results. Where they're going to go. They can't go into your record. They can't be used to prosecute you because you've got the HIPAA laws. Nobody's got a right to know about your medical background. What if the kid's taking other drugs because of an illness that they may have that might conflict? I mean, there's a whole lot of
I think what
other
you're saying is if you implement a policy like this, you can't go into it willy-nilly. You have to have a really good plan in place.
Absolutely.
You don't just start randomly drug testing and then let's figure out what to do once we get positive drug test results. But yeah, maybe in a few years we'll be talking on the show and say, you know what, we have great data that this is a deterrent in these particular school districts. And I wish I could say that drug testing is always 100% accurate, but it is not. And when you have those false positives, it can ruin a life. So it's just there's a lot to this. Let's take a break.
There's a lot to it. And what about the line being drawn? I mean, think about this. We have to draw the line when it comes to protecting our kids. I mean, let's think about this for a minute. Let's draw a line here. Let's draw the line. This is the line. This is to where the top row of this would be DWOC. This is RDTWOC. That means randomly drug testing without consent. The bottom line is randomly drug testing with consent. So, if you go to the top line here, you go without consent, you're crossing the line here. You cross the line over. This is where I draw the line here. That's where I draw the line. I don't want to randomly drug test my child without consent. If that happens, that's where I draw the line. But if it crosses the line, you get yourself in a whole lot of trouble there, my friend. So what do? You gotta have prior knowledge or do the research reported to know exactly what you're doing, because if you start randomly drug testing people, it's like this. You cross the line. And then you're gonna have to go through court cases. You're gonna have to go through a lot of court cases. You're gonna decide what you need to do. I mean, if we stop randomly drug testing, we're basically violating state laws. And we need that drug testing to teach people, hey, when you're going to be going to work, you're going to be asked to do randomly drug tests, as well as alcohol. As well as alcohol tests here. And this is like this, you want to come into my school, you're going to have to be randomly drug tested. And if you want to work here, you're going to be subject to randomized drug testing. Professional sports do it, and other workplaces do it, but for schools, I decide with the Supreme Court cases. Still ahead, we're going to look into what private schools doing these drug tests. Now, private schools will be part of this. We'll have that for you still ahead. But coming up next, hip use with students' rights in the school. Something we have not talked about during this issue we are going to talk about tonight. Stay with us. So far we talked about the right to drug test students, which is a good right. In every case, the Supreme Court sides with the schools. But let's look at some other rights, like the right to free speech and the right to search seizures, whatever. Take a look at this from Abuse.
So we're going to start off with some good news. The actual first case that applies to students in a positive manner is 1943. This is West Virginia Board of Education versus Barnett, where a Jehovah's Witness religious group is basically complaining that they don't want to have to say the Pledge of Allegiance, they don't want to have to salute, and in the 1940s, you were compelled to do so or you could get suspended. And you could see sometimes the saluting was a little bit creepy. But either way, the Supreme Court's going to rule on the side of students who don't want to have to salute, say the Pledge of Allegiance, saying that the government doesn't have the ability to compel you to do that. So it's not so much a freedom of speech kind of idea, but more of kind of a freedom not to have to speak, not to have to act. But the big case, and this is the one you want to study, kiddies, is Tinker versus Des Moines, 1969. So here's the context of the case. It's 1965, the end of 1965, and the Vietnam War is getting a little bit hot, even though it's the Cold War. And Robert Kennedy has basically announced that he wants a truce, a ceasefire, as we approach the Christmas holiday of 1965. And there's a lot of protesters and a lot of anti-war people and a lot of kids that are for this. And that includes the Tinker family. We have John, who is 15, Mary Beth, Paige, Hope, and a friend, Chris Heckard, that get together and they plan on supporting this endeavor by putting on some black armbands and going to the school. And when the Des Moines School District gets hold of this information, and it's not just the high school, but the middle school and the elementary school, they kind of, preempt it by saying, don't you dare. We don't want any of that kind of disturbance when we're trying to do the learning. And the kids do it anyway. And then on December 16th, Mary Beth and Chris Eckhard got suspended. John got suspended the next day. And it probably would have ended there if it wasn't for the lobby group, the civil rights organization, the American Civil Liberties Union, who came in and said, we think we should do something about this. And that case eventually travels to the Supreme Court. They had lost in the lower court of the district court. Court of Appeals was a tie. And now they're there to say that students have some rights. And the court agrees. It's the Warren Court, the liberal activist court, who basically says that it's one thing if you're trying to, promote learning, you're trying to have a calm atmosphere. You're not doing it for that reason. You're doing it because you want to avoid controversy. So students have a right, maybe not to yell in the cafeteria, but they have a right to symbolically protest, even if it's an unpopular opinion. In school, the court says you don't shed your rights at the schoolhouse gate. You got some rights. So enjoy that, because I'm about to poke holes all over your Tinker armband rights. So the first big hole in Tinker is going to be in 1986. It's an episode that occurs in the early 1980s. It's called Bethel School District versus Fraser. And Matthew Fraser is a senior, and he's nominating his friend Jeff to be on the student council. And he gets up there and he says, Jeff is a man who is firm. He is firm in his pants, firm in his character, and firm in his belief in our students. And he will use his point to pound away at this. The principal immediately suspends Matthew, saying that you've crossed the line. This isn't freedom of speech. And he's basically saying that's not for you to interpret. This is my freedom of speech. This is the Bill of Rights in action. And the court sides on the side of the school, basically saying that the school has an ability to limit Tinker if it comes to things that they can interpret as being sexual innuendos. And they say, obviously, the kid's referring to that, so we have the right to shut you down on that. And there are current cases. For instance, there's some students, middle school students, who are wearing the I Love Boobies bracelet in the kind of the cancer awareness fundraising spirit, and they were suspended, and they actually won their appeals case. It's not going to the Supreme Court. They said that that was a legitimate freedom of expression, and they're allowed to do that. But you better be careful if you're getting a little bit of, close to the hanky-panky, which is hashtag creepy. I got another hole for you. This is Morse vs. Frederick, 2007. It was an incident that occurred in Anchorage, Alaska in 2002, where a young man by the name of Joseph Frederick wanted to play a little prank. And basically what occurred was there was a Olympic relay coming through town, so Deborah Morse, the principal of the school, released the students early. Joe wasn't there. He showed up a little bit late, but when he showed up across the street from the school, and as the cameras came out, their big moment was going to be on the TV screens. He unhurls the banner, his freedom of speech in action, bong hits for Jesus. I don't know what's going through the kid's head, but I know what's going through Deb Morris's head as she runs across the street and rips it out of his hands. And eventually, he's going to go to the Supreme Court saying, she violated my freedom of speech. She had no right to do that. And the school says, you better sit down, son. Number one, this was sort of a school-sanctioned event. You were supposed to be in school. The school had let out for that purpose. So whether you were there on your own or you're not, you're representing the school. And number two, it's not so much a freedom of speech issue when you're trying to advocate for drug use. And that's interpretable, but the principal gets to make that decision. So even though you're not in school, and even though you believe it's freedom of speech, the school has a right, because it's sending a message about drug use, to not let you put that banner up. So son, you can sit down again, because you're suspended. So you want to print an article in the newspaper, don't you? You think you can do whatever you want because it's your freedom? I got news for you. That's going to be limited. This is another hole in Tinker. It's called Hazelwood versus Kallmeyer, 1988. And the students basically had written some articles that were first shown to the principal. And one of the articles was on divorce. Another one was on teen pregnancy. They were interviewing students, keeping their names anonymous. But the principal was like, I don't think this is a good idea. You're not going to print that. They go all the way to the Supreme Court saying that, if we don't have this freedom of press right in school, how are we going to live it when we get out of school? And the court says, no, school is for learning, and schools have to have the ability to have what's called prior restraint, which means you're going to have maybe more limitations on your freedom of expression when it comes to press in school, because that's not really why you're there. You're there to create a learning environment, and if the school believes it's getting in the way of some kind of pedagogical purpose, then it has the ability to do that. So watch what you print in the newspaper, because you might be going down. Yo, you can't search me. You ain't got no warrant. Fourth Amendment, baby. Psych. Not in school, you don't. This is New Jersey versus TLO 1985. And basically these two girls, they're doing a little bit of the smoking in the bathroom. They come out, someone smells it. The vice principal's like, empty your bag. They're like, we're not going to empty my bag. The vice principal's like, I'm going to empty your bag. And bada boom, you have drug paraphernalia. You're out of here. And now she's going to the court saying he didn't have a right to search my bag. He had no probable cause. He didn't go for a warrant. He just on a whim decided he was going to do this. So it's an illegal search. Therefore, you can't use that in a court of law. Matt versus Ohio. Needless to say, the court says, sister, you better sit down because you're in big trouble. And what they come down to is basically saying the school has a safety purpose. They have to have the ability, if there's reasonable suspicion, to be able to search a student's purse. What if there's a gun in there? What if there's something dangerous in there? We can't have this kind of probable cause warrant court thing going on. You have an expectation of privacy, but not an expectation beyond a reasonable suspicion. Who's the reasonable suspicion decider? So I guess that would be, the person in authority. So why don't you empty your pockets? Be careful what you do, kids, because you don't get probable cause. You can't make me pee in a cup. Well, maybe we can. There's actually 2 court cases that deal with student drug testing. Both of them are random drug testing that occur when you join first an athletic group, and this was the earlier court case. This is Vernonia School District versus Alton, 1995, where a student was joining a sports team and basically said, look, I didn't do anything wrong. You can't make me, give up my pee-pee because you just are randomly drug testing. You have to show I did something wrong. And the court says, not so fast, son. We have a duty in school, not only to send a message about saying no to drugs, but to make sure, especially in athletics, you can't be on the field high. You could get hurt. So we have a duty to protect not only the message, but to protect you. We want to protect you. So therefore, it was held constitutional that schools can do random drug testing when you're joining, let's say, the football team or the baseball team or whatever. Now, the next court case, which is Board of Education versus Earls 2002, doesn't deal with athletic groups, but competitive non-athletic groups like the chess club or the debate club. And remember, the prior message was, we're doing it for your safety. You could get hurt out there. But the court's going to broaden that. They're going to broaden the hole in your kind of Bill of Rights shield by saying, nope, the message of drugs is so important. We have such a duty to protect that we have the right to do random drug testings if you join the chess club. So there you go, guys. That's all the court
cases right there. That's the whole Swiss cheese here. So common sense needs to start telling you to look up the Supreme Court cases. You want to learn more about the Supreme Court cases, the issues here? We'll have some on our newsletter. That's at scarybright.substack.com. You also find out more about randomized drug testing from other schools that decide to do this. So that's the whole Swiss cheese here. We'll have more when we come back. Stay with us. So now that we looked into all the rights here, the biggest one ever is the freedom of speech. That's the biggest Swiss cheese ever, because everyone's just saying whatever they want to say. The F word, the B word, whatever. I mean, you want to use profanity in our schools? Can't do that, because when you're out there in the workplace, you're gonna want to show respect. That's why they have rules that are saying be respectful. You gotta respect your teachers and the authority, because they're trying to teach you that if you're being disrespectful to your boss, you're going to be fired. That's what happens in the world of work. And if you're late to work, You late to school, you get in trouble. If you're late at work, you're going to be fired. Due dates. Deadlines are crucial. In the world of work, if you don't meet a deadline, you're going to be camped. You're going to be fired. It's that simple. But going back to the randomized drug testing, the Fourth Amendment does not allow public schools to conduct random drug testing across the entire student body. However, a school may randomly test students who participate in competitive extracurricular activities, such as athletics and the school band. Since many students participate in these types of activities, so the prohibition of blanket random testing does not carry as much weight as it seems. What's the big picture here? The big picture is this. If you are going to join an extracurricular activity or an after-school program, you need to sign a paper saying you will randomize drug testing. And parents have to be notified about this. The student can't sign it. The parent has to sign it also. So tip I have for parents is be prepared to ask questions and have some research beforehand. So here's the thing. If your child wants to join athletics, like baseball, basketball, football, whatever, and you have to sign a form saying that your child has to be randomly drug tested, you need to have prior knowledge or do the research beforehand to know exactly what you're doing. Because there may be random times you may be called in, and there's times to where you won't be called in. In my case, I joined the FCCLA. I had to sign a paper saying I was randomly drug tested. Did they call my name? No. I was not randomly drug tested. You know why? Because I never take drugs. I never vaped. I never smoked dope. I never smoked cigarettes. I never drank a beer. I never did, and I don't drink for a reason because I'm not one of those hoodlums that are out smoking dope or whatever. But if state laws are stronger than federal laws, if the state of Texas says we have to randomly drug test students, and that's the state's choice. I mean, it's like state of Texas says we have to give up our pee-pee. Like in the state of Connecticut. The state of Connecticut mandates that all 10th graders have to have a physical. That's one case involving... That's just one case of a state law. So let's take a look at Mr. Big Shot.
Texas Medicaid?
The state of Connecticut mandates that all 10th graders have to have a physical. And so I'm meeting with a student, Frankie, who has not submitted his physical. Hi, Frankie.
Hello.
Now, the reason why I called is because your name is on a list of students who have not turned in their physicals.
I had my physical. I just never turned it in.
Well, where is it?
At home.
Well,
I never turned it in.
Okay, it's the blood work. So this is what is needed for you. The only thing they need is...
no, because when I went there, you get no needles.
So what do you mean, no needles?
I don't like needles. I don't do needles. Something about needles, I'm perfectly healthy. I can function perfectly fine, normal, same way.
It's just a little ting on the finger.
That little prick goes a long way.
What? Well, look, we need it. We need blood. I don't know of any other way that the doctors take blood. I think they need like a whole vial of it. They will stick the needle just right in here.
Nah. Ooh, I can't let them touch me like a needle in my arm. I have a fear of needles because what if the doctor uses a dirty needle or the doctor pokes in the wrong spot?
This paper has to be in.
But miss, look at me, like, can't you see? Look how perfect, I'm in perfect health, top shape.
Frankie seems to think that he can gauge his health by the way he looks. That's not how it works. That's it. We need the paper. You understand?
Yeah.
It's so important. Otherwise, I have to call your parents and I'll let them know just how scared you are. Is that what you want me to do or what?
No, there's no need.
All right, I need to know what's going to happen tomorrow. I want to hear it right now.
I will bring you my physical with the blood work, which means I will allow them to give me a needle in this perfect body. Okay?
All right, Frank. Take care.
So that's the law. That's the law in the state of Connecticut. State of New Jersey has that same law where you can't have a soda machine. I'm going to play you that video when we come back. Stay with us, as well as my opinion about drug testing. Stay tuned. Would you like an ice-cold soda? Psych! Not in New Jersey. The state of New Jersey was the first state to ban soda and junk food in schools. The state senate passed a school nutrition bill that banned vending machines, cafeterias, and school stores selling the most snacks in public schools and soda in elementary and middle schools. The policy also prohibits foods and minimal nutritious beverages, water ices, chewing gum, and all food items listing sugar as the first ingredient. The policy exempts food and beverages served during special school celebrations or during curriculum-related activities. The state senate passed the school nutrition bill by a vote of 23-11 that would ban vending machines, cafeterias, and school stores selling most snacks, public schools, soda, elementary, and middle schools. That's the whole thing. Meet one student who just simply wanted a soda from the teacher's lounge, which was in a locked faculty room. A locked faculty room. That's the teacher's lounge. Hence the teacher. Teachers are allowed to be there. So if it's like third period, like 20, 30 teachers walking in, like getting a soda, whatever. Take a look at this student.
I have to call him. In New Jersey, no school is allowed to have soda machines in their hallway because it's not nutritious. I have to call on the student into my office who went into the teacher's lounge without permission and took 3 sodas out of the machine.
You wanted to see me? What did I do?
Here, you can read it.
Oh, this. Joe was using the soda machine in the teacher's cafeteria. When questioned by several teachers, including me, she told us that she was getting a drink for her English teacher. She proceeded to buy like 3 sodas. I guess her teacher was thirsty. My teacher gets really thirsty sometimes. Like, you know when people get that stuff on the corner of their mouth, like they're like dehydrated and like white lips? And she asked for a soda, so I was just trying to be a nice person and go and get her the soda.
All right. But when did this happen? What period was this?
During period 3.
Period 3?
Yeah.
Are you crazy? It's a lunch period, so we're going to have 20 or 30 teachers walking in there. This is like having a gambling operation across the street from the police department.
I was getting it for my English teacher.
All right, do you really think I believe that your English teacher, who is a veteran teacher, one of our best teachers, would send you to buy 3 sodas?
I didn't know which one to get her. She didn't specify, so I got her options.
I don't believe this at all. So, guess who I have to talk to next?
My English teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you don't have to do that.
Sorry. Tell me the truth right now.
I was in the mood for a soda. I wasn't settling for a Yoo-Hoo or a Snapple.
So water won't do, huh?
I was in the mood for soda.
So, I don't have to ask the English teacher what the heck she's doing.
No, you don't have to.
I see. There's a reason why you guys can't have soda, okay? In the state of New Jersey, can't have nutritional stuff in machines. It's a legal matter. There's a reason why the soda is in a locked faculty room.
It was open. I don't think it's fair that teachers get caffeine all day, and we don't. That's why we're falling asleep in class. I just want soda.
Well, it's a state law. To end this, you've been extended Saturday detention.
This is over soda, Mr. Tate.
Well, I hope the soda was good. All right, back to class.
I'm not happy with my punishment at all. It's just soda. That's all it is. It's dumb soda. When I get home, I'm going to write a letter to my congressman because this is stupid. The whole thing is stupid. It's soda.
In the future, children should stay out of the faculty lounge and get something out of one of the student machines that is healthy for her.
It's the cutback on obesity. That's the common sense. We're crying out loud. You want a good soda? Well, bring it with you. I mean, in 8th grade, I opened up a soda can. He was like, throw it away. So I threw it away. What was I going to do? Was I going to say, no, I'm thirsty? Well, told me again, throw it away. No. Because I was thirsty. Again, no. So if I did say no, what would happen is the substitute would have wrote a note to my teacher. Next day, teacher would have come in and saying, why would you say no to a teacher? Because she wouldn't let me drink a soda. I was thirsty. It's like, you made me throw away a can that was like, that cost me like $3. You owe me $3 for that can. Because I'm thirsty, for crying out loud. If I want something to drink, I want something to drink. Well, go get some water. I mean, water fountains are good. Water's good, but teachers, y'all get caffeine all day, and students don't. That's why kids are falling asleep in class. It's basically the whole purpose here. The whole purpose. I'm going to make this short here, so what do I think about randomly drug testing 7th graders? It's a bad idea. Randomly drug test freshmen through sophomores, for those that participate in extracurricular activities, and for those that vape. Only drug tests for extracurricular activities and for vape. You can see the vape smoke. You don't have to sniff vape. I mean, you can somehow buy vape on the internet. I'm not going to give you... You can basically go to your vape shop here somewhere and go get some vape and then hide it and then just go... I mean, in my work, I saw somebody vape while they were at work during their shift. I'm like, she should have done it during her break. I wasn't gonna snitch and then have her have the employee get written up or something. So I wasn't gonna say anything. But if I did that, I would videotape the incident, show it to my boss, and then it would determine the punishment. I mean, not for me. I mean, I did the right thing by coming forward telling what happened. I saw her vaping. I saw this person vaping on the job. You're not supposed to vape. You're not supposed to do drugs and drink on your job because it's a safety issue. If you're going to do that, go on your break. Do it during your break. Don't be going out and start doing it. I mean, you may have a medical condition and all, but it doesn't matter. The rules are the rules. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't vape. That's the whole key here. Well, let's get back for now. I'll see you on Throwback Thursday. If I don't see you, I'll see you in September. Have a good night.